Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today I realized that there was randomly one of the 1/18th scale raptors that I never reviewed. I don't know why I forgot to review this one. I thought I had covered them all, and then I realized this one was sitting over here on my to review pile. So I grabbed it right away and I was like, well, we better get this one up on the channel because we've got ourselves the Dromaeosaurus albertensis in 1/18th scale. Again, one of the smaller raptors, which they are super fun figures. You can see the boxes, or packaging I should say, is pretty much as they always are in this scale. You've got the window area where you can see the figure, of course the species name, and then an image up here showing off some beautiful artwork for the figure as well as the beasts of the Mesozoic logo up there. And then if we turn it around, you can see again that you have like an area back here that sports sort of like a little card you can cut out and keep for your Dromaeosaurus, or you could just keep the packaging like I do. And then you also have a checklist down here of all of the different figures that are out currently for these Beasts of the Mesozoic 1/18th scale figures, at least that came out with this wave, I believe. Again, some really fun ones, but there are also some other figures that were released prior. I also have this set, now that I think about it, to review and check out with you guys as well, which is a super cool set. So let's pop this out of the packaging and check it out. So contained within the packaging, now I'm not actually going to pull this out. I don't think I may through the review, but I don't know that I'll need to. Back here behind the species name, you can see we actually have the peg and everything, as well as the connection pieces to display it on the little base that's included. We also have the base, again right here with a nice translucent look, and you've got the Beasts of the Mesozoic logo on there, as well as the alternate legs for our Dromaeosaurus, and then of course the Dromaeosaurus itself. And as you can see, it looks really nice. They've definitely done such a great job on, recreating these figures in a much smaller scale. Considering how nice the larger scale 1/6 scale versions are, it's pretty impressive to me that they're able to replicate them so nicely in smaller figure form and still adding in most of the coloration that you see on the larger versions. But again, it looks really beautiful here. And again, sculpt-wise, everything looks nice and vibrant, so that's always a plus for the figure as well. So as always, we're going to go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at this, and we'll check it out from there. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Dromaeosaurus, you can see that the actual skin texture looks quite nice. Again, you've got some skin texture here in the snout of the dinosaur before we lead back and pick up all the feathering. And you can see that we actually have variation of color. It looks like we've got kind of like a white tone mixing with a tan here in the snout. You can see the nostrils are sculpted nicely, also highlighted with a darker tone. As you move back, you've got some yellow eyes, and considering how small that head sculpt is, those eyes are so nicely painted. Very impressive paintwork. And as you move through the body, you'll notice again the impressive paintwork doesn't cease because there's tons of it. You've got a nice black that kind of circles around the eye and stripes down into the lower jaw as well. You've got some beautiful blues up here on the top of the head, very striking blues moving through the feathered areas here on the top of the head. There's also some browns that kind of like stripe through that area. You've also got a little bit of yellow there underneath the blacks, and then the blacks lead back here into the neck. We do have an articulated jaw for our Dromaeosaurus. You can see there's a nice pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth, and the teeth are ultra tiny, but they're very nicely painted for how small they are. You can see that's actually crazy impressive that the paintwork is so precise on those teeth considering how tiny that mouth is. And also there's a nice gloss coat you can kind of see shining there on the inside of the mouth. As you move back here into the neck, you do pick up some brownish tones, and the brownish tones seem to have like a dark wash potentially applied within them as well, because it kind of looks like there's a little variation of color to those browns. You can also see we've got a spot of articulation right here in the neck where you can swivel that and move it pretty much anywhere you would like. Very nice, very smooth articulation. You can also go up and down a little bit. You can see that right there. So very nice when it comes to that area. As you move down here to the bottom of the neck, you have a little floater, it looks like, potentially, but you've also again got some articulation down here, which swivels again around I don't know how much of an upward and downward. Yeah, you got a little bit of up and down movement. So you can get the head turning very nicely for the Dromaeosaurus. Again, really beautiful posability, even in these smaller figures. As you move down, though, you continue to see the really nice feather detail. There's also some black spotting that picks up here in the back of the dinosaur. You can also see a little bit of a satiny shine to the figure as well as we let the light hit it. Moving down into the stomach, you've got a little area here where we sport some yellowish tones, some light yellow, very different tone of yellow than what we see up there in the face. There's a few more of those black spots right there, and again, you can see the feather detail does look really good. You can see that we have a white for the underside of the dinosaur, really bright white. As you move down into the arms, we have a little more of that brown as well as some more of the white on the sides of the arms. And then, of course, as you lead out into the arm, we've got some gorgeous plumage for our dinosaur. You can see some nice bluish tones as well as black, and then the black has like a nice white spotting effect moving out through as you lead out there toward the feathers on the tip of the arms. And then as you lead here to the underside, we've got kind of like a tan coloration, which also potentially seems to have maybe a darker brown underneath, making sure to highlight all of the feather detail in there. That's really impressive considering how small it is again. And you can see we have some yellowish tones there for the hands. The nails are painted with a nice black, and you can see more white as you lead up there through the underside of the arm. Even on the underside of the throat, you've got a little area of some yellow kind of striping through, as well as some whites, and then some more black spotting as you move down into the chest. And then as we move back here a little bit further, you have another area. Oh, actually, we have the arm articulation. You've got the shoulder right there, which is forward and back. And then it can also come out away from the body very nicely to give you kind of like a almost soaring raptor. And then you also have the elbow articulation right here, which is forward and back, as well as the wrist articulation again, which can go very nicely. So tons and tons of articulation moving through there. And then again, we also have the midsection articulation, which can move around, give you some nice range of movement in that area as well. I think these smaller figures have some of the smoothest when it comes to the midsection articulation. Of course, just like the smaller tyrannosaurs also do. But then you've also got hip articulation as you move back. Again, forward and back. It's a little stiff because it's straight out of the packaging. I haven't messed with it really too much yet. And then you also have knee articulation, which is also very, very, very stiff. It's not really doing a whole lot right now, but it does go forward and back a little bit. So unfortunately, again, that'll have to be warmed up before I can really achieve the movement I want. But as you move down the leg, you can see the feather detail in the thigh looks really nice. We again have some black spots there meshing with the nice brown. As you move down, the brown kind of stripes there into the white of the back of the leg, and then the brown disappears. We overtake the legs with the white, and then we transition to a yellow for the skin texture of the feet. You can see the feet are sculpted pretty nicely. You can also see that the claws are kind of up and extended. They're all painted with a nice glossy black, dew claws as well. And then you move up here into the tail. Again, you have a little bit of a yellowish tone running along the top as you lead out to a lighter variation of a brown, almost like an orangish brown. And there definitely is some variation of color. Looks like maybe there was an orange and then maybe a brown that's been put over it. And also some really nice looking plumage as you lead out here toward the tip of the tail. You could see again a really nice design and pattern going on out here with some blacks and whites leading out. The feather detail is also fantastic considering its size. And then you have some white here on the underside of the tail. And of course the articulation of the tail, which you can see swivels all around, goes all over the place, up, down, left, right, can completely swivel around. Very nice flexible tail for our Dromaeosaurus. And of course the same thing over here. Considering it is a fully posable figure, you're really not going to see much difference from one side to the other. But that is an absolutely excellent looking Dromaeosaurus, especially considering its size. And then of course if you want to switch the legs out, you basically just pull the leg off and then it'll pop right out, and then you would just put the other leg in. Basically these other legs, you can see how this leg is curved, this leg is way more outstretched, so that is the difference there. And then same deal for the opposing leg, again way more outstretched compared to the leg that's currently on it. Same deal for that one as well. You would just pop the leg off and then put the other leg in. I'm going to try to stand my Dromaeosaurus here. The leg on the other side is also really stiff, as I haven't moved these quite yet. So there we go, we can get it standing pretty nicely again without even using the base. But as far as a size goes, these figures are uber tiny. For a length, you are looking at about 4 inches or around 10 centimeters. And then for a height, again, and this would depend on the positioning that you have it in, you're looking at closing in on 1.5 inches, but not really, maybe even closer to 1.25 inches, or about 3.5 centimeters. So very, very small. Now, I have reviewed quite a few of these 1/18 scale raptors in the past, and they are all pretty similar in size, so I don't think we need to do many comparisons. We'll just do one, as I feel like we only really need the Papo-Rex comparisons. So let's get to that. So there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon in the Collect A Human Being next to our Dromaeosaurus in 1/18 scale, and you can very clearly see the figure is really small, like you would expect it to be, but also absolutely stellar considering its size. So this 1/18 scale Dromaeosaurus albertensis is again another win from the Beasts of the Mesozoic, and that is something that I think you will always encounter whenever it comes to a Beasts of the Mesozoic figure. When it comes to any sort of a prehistoric collectible, the Beasts of the Mesozoic has to be on the top of the list of the best collectibles out there. And yet again, this Dromaeosaurus is fantastic. Extremely nicely detailed, as you always find. The skin texture looks great, the feather detail looks great, the overall design and appearance for the Dromaeosaurus is also great. And considering how small this is, the paintwork is super impressive. Again, there is quite a bit of paintwork on this, many different tones of color, including washes and dry brushing techniques to really show off how impressive the paintwork and detailing is. And considering how small the figure is, I feel like that makes it even more impressive than the larger 1/6 scale version. And of course, on top of that, you've also got tons of articulation, which is always a great thing. I'm a huge fan of articulated figures, and you really won't find any better articulated figures than you find in the Beasts of the Mesozoic line. Especially considering its size, it is crazy impressive in the articulation standpoint. So as a whole, this is absolutely another awesome figure, absolutely another huge recommendation from me, and definitely a figure worth adding to any prehistoric collection. So if you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase this on the Beasts of the Mesozoic website. So make sure you check that link, definitely pick this up, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.